Hello, everybody. Good morning. Happy Monday to you. Happy December to you. Happy Holy God, it's cold outside to you this morning. We have a great show planned for you today. We have lots to talk about. And Trista Polo is here, so it doesn't get better than that. Stay tuned for an all new episode of Project Joy Live starting right now. Good morning. Happy Monday to you. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and this is Project Joy Live. It's your triple shot of good vibes every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at the 9 a.m. Eastern Time hour. We are in the final month of the year. Do you guys believe it? I've literally said it every month this year, though. Every month I go, where does the time gone? I don't know, but we're here and we're doing it. It is freezing cold in southeastern Connecticut this morning, you guys. Freezing cold. I'm wrapped in this probably one of the best purchases I've ever made in my whole existence. We went to the Chicago concert, you guys. I was sharing about that last month, and one of my favorite bands of all time. Truly such an amazing show. And, typically I'll get like a t-shirt or, a little cup or a keychain or something like that. And I saw this big old fluffy blanket hanging up on the wall. And I said, that's for me. So I got a big old fluffy blanket. And the hilarious part of this story is that my husband and I were walking around the casino before we went into the concert. And I told him what my plan was. I'm like, my plan this time is to go up to the merch counter before the show this time. Because, here, this is a real tip, you guys. If you wait and go to the merch counter after the concert, the line is a mile long. You get annoyed. You may not get the sizes and things that you want if you want a t-shirt or whatever. So I was like, I'm going to go ahead of time. And so my husband was like, this means I'm going to end up having to carry stuff around, Jessica, and we're going to have to find a place to put it at the seats and everything else. So here's my husband complaining about my plan. And so he was like, we're going to go to the seats first. Well, I do what any good wife does. And as he starts walking towards the seats when we walked in, I started walking towards the merch counter. I did what I was supposed to do. So we go to the merch counter. And I see this blanket and he takes the stuff from me and he's like, see, I told you I was going to end up carrying it. And I'm like, okay, I'm still doing what I do best, which is ignoring him. So then we get to the chair, and it's cold inside the arena. Who, pray tell, do you think unwraps this brand new fluffy blanket and wraps themselves in it in the arena? Mr. I'm going to have to carry it and do something with all your stuff, Jessica. He was so grateful that I had picked the blanket and he got to wrap up with it during the show. So this is why men out there, you listen to your wife, because wives know best. That's it. That's what I got for you today. Let's head over to the morning brew. Head over to the comments. Let us know where you're joining from and what is bringing you the most joy today. And let's talk about what's happening on the show. Okay, I'm very excited because it is officially the first Monday of the month, you guys, which means my friend, the queen of self-love, Trista Polo is here, you guys. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking about lots of things. We were chatting it up before the show. Lots to share with you today about self-love. We're going to talk about the documentary, which is very exciting still. I'm sort of still in shock and denial over here. So I'm glad somebody else has something to say about it. We've also got birthdays coming up for you. Again, I got to give you some updates about what's going on behind the scenes over here at the Breakthrough Show Network. And we have a lot of amazingness planned. Let's back up and see who's joining us this morning. Fabulous morning to you, Miss Teresa. Blessings and love. Trista said, excited and chilly to be here. It is cold. That's why, see, I get upset here in New England when it is this stinking cold and it doesn't snow. Like, show me something pretty, at least, please, because I don't want to be cold for no reason. So that's why I put this lovely snowing background here with us this morning. Miss Rhonda's here today. Good to see you. Miss Nancy's here today. Good morning. Good to see you. You do. You gotta keep your word. Good to see you here today. Trista's gonna be on the screen soon, you guys. Miss Brittany's out here. Who else do we have going on? See, that's a good tip too. Teresa says I usually hit up the merch counter on one of my potty breaks. That's a great idea. You just gotta don't wait until the end of the concert to go to the merch table. It's miserable. It's a horrible experience. Just FYI. Brittany said, a warm house is what's bringing me joy. And of course, I'm still processing and still soaking up the joy from our trip. It was so much fun having Brittany here, you guys. And it still was such a wild experience on Friday's show to have her sitting right here next to me and I look over at her instead of on the screen. It was very strange. It was very strange. But a very good experience. Nonetheless, good to have you guys here today. Listen, I don't want to waste any time because we do have a lot to chat about. So without further ado, please welcome the author of Self-Love Shenanigans and one of my, dare I say, my dear friends. I love her so much. Please welcome Trista Polo to the show. Welcome back, Trista.
I'm so happy to be here. We're blanketing today.
Yes, we're blanketing and we have to dance it out a little bit because it is freezing cold.
Well, you know what I love about our connection is I was going to text you this morning and say, how do you feel about the official wardrobe of today's episode being we're wearing blankets? And I come on already wearing a blanket. I didn't even have to text you.
That's it. That's it.
Here I was like a chump being all professional wearing a black sweater. No, I changed back into my blanket because I'm comfortable and it's totally okay here on Project Joy Podcast. I love it.
That's it. Listen, that's the thing. So we are very professional here on the Breakthrough Show Network, but Project Joy is one of those cozy, get your coffee, keep your pajamas on. It's sort of, grab your blankie. It's that kind of show in the morning. This is supposed to be a comforting, welcoming show. So please always don't, I mean, unless you're like reporting live from the Grammy Awards or whatever, please come in your pajamas.
Can I please go to the Grammys in my jammies? Yeah. I want to do that.
Grammys in my jammies. That could be a song.
Okay. I think it would be a hit. Maybe even a TikTok trending sound.
Okay, so I have to tell you this. We obviously the Friendship Paradox came out on last Friday, and I needed to tell you this part, which I waited to sort of tell you. So there's several of you that my kids have gotten used to seeing. Brittany, Danielle, Trista, there's several of you that my kids know really well at this point. Basically, you're all family. You just might not know it. And so when we were watching the film initially, the end of the film, my kids were cheering every time they saw like those of you that they know come up on the screen. That's amazing. It was the cutest thing in the whole world. And hilarious. So because Brittany was here for the premiere, we're in the living room. And every time Brittany would come on the screen, the kids would all start screaming. And so she never got to hear a word that she said.
That's amazing.
Because they were screaming the whole time. But y'all are famous. You just don't even know.
Right. I'm an influencer and I didn't even know I was influencing anybody.
So last time you were here, though, we talked about, thinking back to what it was like to do the recording for the film. what you have a lot of thoughts now. So I'll let you
Yeah.
start wherever you want to start, and then I'll sort of play along.
Well, so I watched all of it, and you had mentioned that you needed tissues nearby. You were having a lot of tears and a lot of emotions. I kind of approached it like, all right, I'm going to be talking to you about this, and I really want to be able to have my thoughts in order. So I had my notebook, I had my notes out. And so I kind of looked at it more like a class. I'm glad I did that because I had so many ahas and, new inspirations about friendship. And that's the first thing I want to say is I was one of the people interviewed. You asked me all these questions. I answered all the questions. But when I heard other people answering the questions, it brought a whole new level to my own perspective of each of the topics. And I was so grateful for that because it meant the work in reflecting on adult friendship wasn't over, and reflecting on how friendship was taught to me in my experiences as a child and how they affected my adulthood wasn't over. And I bet if I watched it again, I would get even another level because you can't hear everything at once on your first pass. So I'm definitely planning on spending some more time with it. But I wanted to thank you, one, for creating it, because it's a conversation I don't think anybody else is having. I think it needs to be an app. I think it needs to be everywhere. I think it needs to be a conversation. I think it needs to be a trend on TikTok to have these discussions about adult friendship. But the only reason it was able to happen the way it did, with people being so authentic and vulnerable and real, is because of the space you created. You created such a safe space. And I just wanted to thank you for that, both as, one of the people in it, but also as a viewer, because there were layers of shares. There was so much realness, and it wouldn't have been that way if the interviewer, if you hadn't created a space that it was okay to go there. So thank you on a lot of levels, but that's the one that struck me the most as I was reflecting on it.
I really appreciate that. And what you're talking about of having a new level of thought when you would hear the other people chime in. What's interesting about that is that with so many of the questions, the majority of you agreed on the main topic. However, the lens at which you processed it through, the level of experience which you processed it through, it's mind-blowing to me because y'all said the same thing but processed it so differently that was such a big, huge part for me, an eye-opening part for me, even as the creator, of going like, holy crap, they said the same thing, but it's not the same thing. So it reminds me always to, how sometimes when we're having a conversation with somebody and they start to say something we relate to and we jump in like, I did that too. I've been there too, right? It reminds me to shut the hell up and just listen because their experience could be so different.
For sure. I completely agree with that because you're right. Many of us said many of the same things, but with such a different lens that I kept thinking about like a gem with many different facets. Like it's all one gem, but there's so many different ways to see it. It was beautiful. It was a really beautiful. And when I started to see my own like extra thoughts and new ahas, I said, oh, that's why you made this. So I could get my own new revelations from other people's experiences. And what a gift, because we're always learning, we're always growing, and hopefully. And one of your guests said, if you're not learning, you're dying, I think.
Yeah.
And it's so true. And so this is just a really amazing thing. And if anybody's listening that hasn't seen it yet, this is your reminder to do that. I was thinking about how people say dogs, cats, etc., come into your life with a soul contract. So they have a soul contract with their owners and people in their lives. And I was like, I think that's true for people too. I think we have soul contracts with each other, and maybe it's not for a whole life. You know the poem Seasons, Reasons, Lifetimes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was mentioned by one of the people that was part of the documentary. And it's true. When I was really low on self-worth, when I didn't love myself very much and I was told about that poem, I rejected it immediately. That's not true. That's not true. Because what if I couldn't count on the friendships I had
Right.
for external validation? But as I've grown my self-worth and love myself more, I'm able to see that that's true. Like sometimes people are there for specific lessons, for specific times in your life when you need their particular kind of support. And sometimes they're lifelong friends, and it's all perfect. There's nothing wrong with any of it.
Yep. That was one of the things when we were talking about gratitude, because it was Thanksgiving weekend and that's what we do, to be as stereotypical as possible. We're talking about gratitude, and typically I have those things that I'm always grateful for, right? My family, my friends,
Yeah.
my house, food, blah blah blah. But this year, since the release of the film, I really have found myself being effortlessly grateful for things that I'm not normally grateful for. Like
Mm.
things that are challenging and things that are like I was super grateful for my husband even when he was whining about something, like little things like that. Like I was grateful for the traffic on the road because I got to like take in the things around me for like I got to look around and kind of just appreciate. I
Mm.
was grateful for the cold because I love the feeling of like the fuzzy blankets. I love that feeling, and so I just find myself being in a new space of gratitude that I haven't found myself in before.
Well, thank you for that entry into what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
So, throughout this process, we have been speaking every month.
Mhm.
And so I've checked in with you like how's it going and what's going on with it, and you never wanted to talk about it. And so now that it's over, I would love to hear from you. Now see, I'm turning the tables on you. I would love to hear how it was for you to take this from an idea to a live stream and your biggest lessons and wins and challenges. Like, is there anything now that you're reflecting back, it's in the past, hindsight 2020, what's there for you about it?
Um, my biggest thought when I was finished is I should have never committed to one film. My biggest thought afterwards was this should have been like, for example, an 8-part documentary that was 2 hours each.
Okay. Yeah.
Like a series, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I was kicking myself because and I even had the opportunity to talk about this a little bit on Project Joy over the last couple of months as I was able to show a couple clips that were so incredibly powerful
Yeah.
but couldn't make it into the movie for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Because I had to keep a flow the certain way. And I also shared that this was really challenging for me, period, because thinking back to school days, when my teachers would give me a book to read and ask me to summarize it, I would get in so much trouble because I would practically rewrite the book because I'm one that I feel like every nuance, every moment is so important to a story
Yeah.
that I just can't cut it down. So this was a huge challenge for me just in that because
Yeah.
I took 33 hours, over 33 hours of footage down to less just a hair under 3 hours.
Yeah. That's
Um
10%. I mean, that's
yeah, so that was a lot. It was a lot for
a
me
lot.
to do that.
Yeah.
Um I also had a couple of very personal moments where I watched back and I was like, crap, I wish I would have asked this follow-up question. Or because you're
Mm.
so in the moment when you're
Yeah.
doing it that you don't really comprehend. So had I planned it again, I maybe would have done like the original interviews, watched them back in my right mind, and then gone, hey, can we get back together and have another
Yeah.
conversation? Um, but I think I feel really good about what the final product was. I feel really good at what we were able to address. And then because of this, in case anybody missed that announcement last week, we're doing a series in 2025 to continue the conversation.
Beautiful.
Because the conversation's not finished.
I agree.
There's so much that I want to go deeper on. There's so many moments, like in particular, Caldwell, with you, with Sharon, Angie. Like there's a few people that I'm thinking of off the top of my head that you guys are such great storytellers, but we had to, for the sake of like time, like cut off the story. So I want to continue these conversations, and I think they're important because that's the biggest thing that I've heard from people is like, I'm thinking in a whole new way now. Like, just processing things differently. So I want to open up that dialogue and continue to have the conversation. We'll see.
That's beautiful. And I'm so glad that I am lucky enough to be talking to you right after it came out. So I didn't want to ask you that question. But I do agree, this was not a project. This was the beginning of something.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you see that too. So we don't all have to make you see it. So
that's great for nope. Nobody has to force me to do that because I was literally like, this can't be done because we barely scratched the surface.
For sure.
So there was a lot. And I really I just felt like one of the biggest thing that hit me was having this coming out on the heels of a very tumultuous election process. Going into holiday season when people really struggle, like the timing I was so ticked at myself when it couldn't come out on International Friendship Day back in July. And then I was like, well, that's why, because it was meant to come out now.
For sure. I agree with that. Yeah. Especially when people are posting things on Facebook, like if you voted for the other guy, we're not friends anymore.
Right.
Period. Unfriend me now. Mm-hmm. And the Seasons, Reasons, Lifetime thing is definitely a piece of that. But, friendship is seen through so many different lenses. And maybe that's the last thing I want to say about it, because I know you had another topic in mind.
No, because I want to hear a couple of your biggest takeaways too.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing that I see is we all see friendship differently. And so we all approach it differently. And so there's no rule book. Like, what if I had this thought, like, what if we all approached friendship on purpose? Like when we meet somebody, we feel that instant vibe, like we talked about in the documentary. And then we say, okay, let's make this official. Let's create friendship agreements. Let's create a friendship purpose. There's this thing that I train on, and you create a whole thing. Like, what's your mission? You do it as a team. What are your skills that you bring to the table? What are your responsibilities? What are the goals of what we're creating together? And what if we did that with every friendship that we felt was worth investing in? Imagine what we could create, because then we would have active listening. We'd be able to discuss conflicts. We'd be able to be more comfortable in those challenging times where we disagree. Like, what would friendship look like if we did it on purpose?
Right.
And I got that very clearly from the documentary. That was definitely one of my big takeaways. And I also loved what one of your guests said: I may not like you, but I have love for you.
Tina. Yep.
And I was like, that's how I feel. She put a few things that I feel much better than I did.
Yeah.
She just did it perfectly. There was another thing. Hold on. I wrote it down because it was so great. There was another thing she said so much better than I did. Something about being your own biggest critic, but that wasn't it. Like when you don't love yourself. I can't find it. I don't want to waste time, but she just had a really good way of putting things that I was like, that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
I love that so much. Oh God, I have so many moments that like to like, and a couple of the really tough moments, with Tig talking about the friendship she witnessed between her mom and her aunts. Christy talking about, when we were having the discussion about social media.
Mm.
And she just she just needs a hug, damn it. Like just that physical touch, and then Kelly, I just love Kelly Fisher. I love you so very much. She's probably gonna kick me forever for making her the final clip of the film. But when she started breaking down a little bit about telling her younger self, you're only gonna need a couple good friends. Like, don't worry about it.
That was
Ooh.
a beautiful, beautiful moment,
Yeah.
especially because it was like she got to the core of something by the end. Like, I don't know if that was in the order that you actually discussed it, but it was like she was so absolute, and then she became she was like her thoughts throughout it, and then she became her heart, and you really felt her just feeling it. It was a beautiful, beautiful moment. Oh my goodness.
So good. So good. I've heard behind the scenes some thoughts about how much people enjoyed your segments specifically as well. That's one of the things I'm really enjoying right now is the messages I'm receiving from people about like, oh, I really loved this person. And even some of you guys going, hey, how do I get in touch with this person? Because we would totally vibe. Like, I knew this was going to happen. Some of y'all were going to want to be friends after this.
That's why I said this needs to be like the basis of an app. Right? You ask these questions, people answer them. We get to listen to all the answers and say, okay, that's my new friend. Oh, yeah. And that's my new friend. And that's my new friend.
And see, that was actually one of the questions that didn't get included in the film that I just thought was so funny. And I didn't ask everybody because it came later on in the process. But I asked if there was an application for friendship, what questions would you have on it? I only asked a few people that, and it didn't end up making it in the film for that reason. But that was kind of a funny thought to think of, like what would be on that, and how honest would you be? Like one of the other moments that sticks out to me is when my friend Rod, who I've known forever and ever, he was like, I want it all. I want you to be there. I want to be on the same page. I never want to argue. We have everything in common. And then he was like, and now back to reality. Like now we have to meet in the middle. But it's true. Like how many of us would be honest about that and be like, it's not enough for me to talk to you online. I want to hug in person, right. Or I don't want to argue, or I want to have things in common. Like how honest would you be in an application for friendship?
Yeah. And that's why I started with, it was only the space you created that allowed us to be that honest. And so I think if you're doing an app, there would have to be some community around it to create that psychological safety that you would create in a team. I think you'd need to put that in first. Yeah. You have your work cut out for you. That's all I'm going to say. Kind of like who made Avatar? What was the name of the director who made Avatar? I don't remember. Well, anyway, you all know who I mean. His whole life now is telling their story. Like that's just his whole life now because he has much more story to tell. And so this is your avatar. So now you just have to fit it into all the other amazing things you create. Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
You don't have to. You don't have
Listen, before we go to break, Shelly Bayer was saying, can you provide a link for the video? I did put it in the comments. I'm so glad you're here, Shelly, by the way. Good to see you. Good to meet you. It's thefriendshipparadox.com, the name of the film.com. If you have any issues, put the www. You shouldn't, but we had some little issues in transferring to the new page yesterday. So if you have any issues, you can also go to the breakthroughshownetwork.com and click the link at the top that says the Friendship Paradox, but you shouldn't now. It should be good to go. We're going to take a really quick break and we're going to come back. Trista and I are going to talk about what we came here to talk about. Which was
I know. I kind of took over. I took over with this topic.
That's okay. That's okay. But you're going to get to see now the final trailer for the film if you haven't seen it yet. And we'll be right back after this.
Caldwell Williams, on April 4th, I was 90 years old, grandson of slaves. My parents are first generation free. A long time ago, I embraced the definition of love. Love is the experience of well-being. And a friend is one who mutually shares that experience of well-being with you, which opens up almost infinite creative possibilities.
We're told as children to go make friends, but what did that look like? And how has it changed over time? Friendship is one of life's greatest gifts, and sometimes one of its greatest challenges.
Someone who is there to support you, someone who is willing to go through the ups and downs of life with you.
Connection, but also the opportunity for learning and deeper connection.
If I don't talk to that person for 2 months, we pick up the phone like we've never stopped talking. To me, that is what a friend is.
Friend to me is someone I can share my joys, also the struggles I have.
Friend means somebody that you can talk to and that you can trust.
So a friend to me is actually someone really, really close, an inner circle person.
And I think it's an important discussion to pass on to other generations so they don't get caught being lonely at the end because they haven't thought about friends in different ways.
This is the Friendship Paradox, a raw and real exploration of connection. Through 26 voices across miles and time zones, we reflect on the friendships that shape us, challenge us, and teach us who we truly are.
I need your shoulder.
What does it mean to be a friend? How do we navigate connection in a world that's constantly changing? And what can we learn about friendship by looking within? This isn't just a film about friendship, it's a call to reflect on the relationships we've built, the ones we've lost, and the sacred connection we have with ourselves. What does friendship mean to you?
Welcome back to Project Joy Live. That was a look at the final trailer for the Friendship Paradox. And I have to take just a moment and truly, again, the song Shoulder that we licensed from Olivia Ambani.
Beautiful.
To finish this film. I can't, first of all, Olivia, thank you so much. I can't even tell you. And I let me know if y'all loved this song in the comments, because everybody that I've heard from has been like, that was the cherry on top. It was the moment. It was the moment.
Yeah. And the fact that, and I said this to you before, but I'm going to repeat it now. The fact that at the beginning you said, you're not going to see me, you're not going to hear from me. I was like, oh, I was disappointed because I was with you the whole interview and you're like, nope, this is about you, not me. And so then at the end, when the credits and everything was happening, the song was going, and we got to see your raw reactions to the different moments that spoke the most to you, laughter and giggling joy and tears. That was a beautiful way with the song and the moments with you. Perfect way to end. I was like, oh, there she is.
I agree. I needed that. Because I wanted people to sort of understand that there was a real person behind behind the scenes. But then also, I could say it a million times. It's like anything else. You could say it a million times, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to understand or agree with you or see it the way you see it. And when I told people that I was literally struggling during these interviews with tears and laughing and all of these things, I meant what I said. And so that was a way for me to show. But also, too, if anybody missed the story about that song, I knew that I wanted the song. Because ever since I first met Olivia a few years ago, I keep her songs in my rotation on my playlist. And at some point in the summertime, I was listening to her album, Superhuman, and that song came on, and I was like, this needs to be at the end of the film. And so it took me a long time to get the guts to ask her for it. But that was all I had, was the idea. When we finally put it in there, and how I started putting the little clips in one at a time, the exact same length for each person.
Yes.
And the fact that it fit the entire song,
yes,
like I had a whole fit at the, at the end. I was so excited. I was like, if this is not a sign, I don't know what.
It was perfect. It was a perfect way to end it for sure.
Yes, James Cameron. That's who we were talking about with
Thank
Avatar.
you, Nancy. Yes, that's who it was. James Cameron, Avatar. Thank you.
Yes, that song takes me to the moment of remembering the treasures you shared and Olivia's precious voice. I hope so. I hope every time you guys hear that song now, that you think about the film, because that's how I'm going to be every time I hear it now. In addition, for those of you that don't know how it works now, you can go to thefriendshipparadox.com. When you get there, I'm actually going to share the screen really quickly because I want to make sure that you guys understand what you're looking at here. Okay, so you get to the page. Here it is. There's little buttons here if you want to skip around or whatever, but you have the graphic. It tells you a little bit about the film. You can watch that full trailer right here. It has some of the first reviews that we've gotten in for the film. You guys make sure you check that out. Then it tells you about contributing. This project was 100% self-funded. Some of you guys know that I have never done a project this big, so I literally in the middle of the film had to buy a new computer. Like it was a whole drama behind the scenes. We obviously had to pay to license the music. There was a lot of things that happened, and we would love to be able to continue to spread the message of this film by purchasing ads and things like that as well. So you can contribute to the film. We ask for a suggested donation of $11, or you can pay $22. That's kind of like buying your ticket and someone else's, but we want everybody to be able to access this. So you can just put in your name and email, say whether or not we can add you to the mailing list, and click the button, and you still have access to the film. That was very important to me that everybody was able to access this. So donate if you can, contribute if you can, but all you have to do to see the film is put in your name and email. Okay, I promise that's it. So put that in. Once you get there to that page, by the way, there are also there's a Spotify playlist that goes with the film. There's a YouTube playlist that goes with the film. Both of those include Olivia's song Shoulder. And then there's also a free download that you can download that is a companion guide to the film.
Cool.
That has all of the questions and a little journaling space that I asked everybody. So as you're reflecting, you can go back and make little notes and stuff as well.
Perfect.
And once I come down from the rafters here, there will also be some little bloopers on that page. There will be some cute little things coming. So if we would love for you to stay on the mailing list. I know some of y'all just joined for the film, but please stay on the mailing list, because when we add things, we're going to update you and let you know that those things are there, including about the upcoming series. So that's it. That's it.
Yay!
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you were able to be here today too, Trista, and share some of your thoughts about that. I also want to, many of us get into this space of reflection as we near the end of the year. Yeah. And since you're all about self-love, I want to know from you, if you look back over the years, is there any places in 2024 where you thought, I could have shown myself some more love there?
For sure. I've mentioned, for those of you who are regular listeners of Project Joy, I've mentioned my accident, which happened this year. And I wish I had in the beginning given myself more grace and patience. Having never been through something like that before, I had no idea what was going to happen, what to expect. I'm super proud of how far I've come. And I think that I deserved a little bit more grace from myself in the beginning. Yeah. So I think I
can think of several spaces where I really could have been a lot more kind to myself around the film. I really struggled. I had about, one of the things that I shared is I had about 2 months not that long ago where I could not bring myself to do anything. I couldn't edit. I couldn't look at another clip. I couldn't, nothing. I was really stuck. And I was mad at myself. I was so angry at myself for that because I'm like, you said you wanted this. Like, you know, what are you doing? So there's that. And
well,
then
before you share another, I want to just say something about creative endeavors, because I feel like creative endeavors are always such a bigger undertaking than we think it's going to be. And we get to a point where it's like, do you ever want this to be complete or not? And, you know, you got to really dig deep to bring your art to the world. It's not easy to do that. It really takes something. And they don't tell you that when you're just doodling or starting to write a book, or I think I want to make a documentary about this. And so thank you for digging deep, because in that moment, those 2 months, you could have decided it was too hard, too expensive, to fill in the blank, and not done it at all. Yeah. And I think that that's a good reminder for anybody in a creative endeavor where you're creating art. You got to dig deep to get it done, and it deserves to be in the world.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what sort of bothers me that about one of the things that we hear often, like in the spiritual community, is about how, you know, things that are meant to be, they'll be easy, they'll be effortless, they'll just happen. And that's not necessarily true, because some things you really, like you said, you got to dig deep. You have to, there's always that moment in the creation of something where you have to stop and ask yourself some really important questions, you know, and it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But
so
I think we're here for sorry, I wanted to say, I think we're here to learn lessons.
Yeah.
And if everything is easy, then there's no contrast, and you don't understand how good you have it when it's easy. If everything is great. So I think we need the challenge to grow and learn lessons, and also to have contrast, so we appreciate and have gratitude when things are going well and when things are effortless.
Yeah, 100%. What are you going to be looking at as far as self-love in the new year?
Yeah, so I've already started. I decided that I create my own future. And so everything that comes to me, I'm going to ask, why is it here? What is the benefit? And how is this a reflection of me creating abundance in my life? And I'll just tell a really quick story. I was traveling recently, and when I travel, it's a lot harder than it used to be. I need a lot of accommodation. I need a lot of energy saving, and I won't go into the details, but it takes a lot for me to travel now. And so I'm like this, like, don't talk to me. I don't chit chat with the person next to me. I'm not a friendly person when I travel. I am like the most introverted version of myself. And so
I'm not a friendly person when I travel.
I'm not, because I'm not interested in any kind of, I'm not looking to make friends when I'm traveling these days. It's all about me and self-care. Right. So I end up sitting next to somebody who literally would not stop talking to me. I was doing everything I could to be cold and to keep them at arm's length, and they would not shut up. And I say that with love. They would not stop talking to me. And it was this stuff like, oh, what are you're traveling for business or pleasure? And what do you do for work? It was all that, chit chatter stuff that you do with people that you're just meeting. And I guess what I said resonated, even though I didn't say much. The things that I said resonated, because the entire time I'm thinking, all right, there's something here for me. What is here for me? I'm very annoyed. I don't want to talk to anybody, but there's got to be something here for me. And it turns out that the connection that they completely created without my help, and I want to be really clear about that, I was not a willing participant, but it's going to end up being a beautiful connection for both of us. Yeah. And it was because I just kept saying, what is there for me? How is this an opportunity to create abundance? So I didn't shut it down. I resisted, but I allowed it. So that's what I'm going to be working on in 2024, because I think that's where the ease comes in. If you let anything, even the stuff that annoys you in, then there's an effortlessness to creating, because you're allowing the stuff that you want to show up. And I think that's what the ease is about. And so that's what I'm going to be practicing in 2025.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And it's a very similar energy to what I've been in gratitude wise of just allowing ourselves, like, it's okay. There's no gratitude police. Like, it's okay for you to be grateful for something that, like, isn't considered like a good thing. Like, it's okay for you to be grateful for the traffic, believe it or
Yeah.
not. It's okay for you to be grateful for the person that was rude to you at the grocery store. It's okay for you to be grateful for your husband when he annoys the living shit out of you. You know, like, it's okay for you to be grateful anyway. And
Yeah.
that's where, like, our power lies,
Yes.
is to be grateful anyway, be nice anyway, do
Yes.
whatever anyway, despite the fight back of it.
That's right. And I'll just do a quick plug. Part of my book, I talk about that, how I fell more in love with my husband during the pandemic than I've ever been before, because I did exactly that. I look for the gratitude in the things that annoyed me most.
I love that. I'm going to take, by the way, since we're plugging, I'm putting the link in the comments, you guys. You can go on Amazon and get that book from
Thank you
Trista.
so much.
Self-Love Shenanigans, you guys.
Perfect Christmas gift.
Yes, it is. So listen, really quickly,
I know we've gone way off your typical agenda, but I think it was worth it.
Yeah, it was necessary. It was meaningful. And we're going to do birthdays really quick, but don't go anywhere, because after birthdays, we're going to share something very special. Okay. All right. We'll be right back.
Happy birthday to you.
All right, you guys, I have so many birthdays to celebrate over the last couple of days that I don't have room for celebrities. These are just the celebrities. All right. So, Charmaine Barber, happy birthday to you. This is over the last couple of days, by the way, you guys. Elaine Fox Clark, happy birthday. Crystal Brooks, old school buddy, Bobby Ryan. A fun fact, I think I have a picture of Bobby and I from kindergarten in Halloween costumes, like the
Oh my goodness.
80s plastic ones that you couldn't breathe out of. Those,
and your eyes would get wet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. By the time you got home from trick-or-treating, you looked like you were in a war. Okay. Chris Johnson, happy birthday. Alex Sadrowski Timmer, happy birthday. Nadia Rayhan, Neem D, Ashley James, Billy, I'm not calling you William because it's always been Billy Gifford, happy birthday. And one of my choir girls from back in the day in high school, Irma Basia.
Nice. Can I add a few?
Yes.
My niece will be turning 1 on the 26th of December. My sister-in-law was born.
Okay,
on the
wait. What's niece's birthday? Niece's name?
Juliet.
Okay.
I know you say them all. Elsa is my sister-in-law. Hers is the 25th.
It's like a Disney film.
And my very, very dear friend Samantha is on the 20th.
Very nice. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to everybody. All right. Here we go. Happy birthday to you.
To you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday,
Happy
dear.
birthday, dear.
Charmaine, Elaine, Crystal, Bobby, Chris, Alex, Nadia, Neem, Ashley, William, Irma, Juliet, Elsa, and Samantha. Happy birthday to you. Epic! Happy birthday to all those that are celebrating. That was the best one ever. I don't care who you are.
I mean, end of the year, last one of the year, I thought, let's just go for the birthday cacophony. Why not?
Go big or go home. I love it. All right, listen. I have a very special announcement. So I've been working on, you guys know how I do starting in November, though it's been a slow process because of the documentary. I start making out the schedule for the new year. And I was like, I need to make sure we have our lineup because I hear you guys. I know so many of you love our regular co-hosts. You love knowing who to expect on the show. And I am proud and pleased and just humbled to announce that Miss Trista Polo will be back in 2025 with us, you guys. Woo-hoo.
Yes, 1,000 times yes.
Yes. It's gonna be exciting. So we're still gonna be doing the first Monday of the month with Trista. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be wonderful. We are off for the month of January, everybody. Please get a good start on your goals for the year. Focus on your family. Clean up your house after the holidays, because I know I'll be doing that too. It's a mess right now. So it's what it is. And so take care of your stuff, and we're gonna see you back. Let me we're going to be back Monday, February 3rd, which is the day before my birthday. So it's going to
nice.
Yes, it's going to be great. Anything in particular that you would like to leave our audience today, Trista, since we talked about so much?
I love what somebody said on the documentary, being alone versus lonely. Look for the best friend inside yourself this holiday season. And I'll just echo, find gratitude in everything, even if it's not something you'd normally be grateful for. It's magic.
Love it. We love the magic here. Also want to remind everybody that coming up here in just a few minutes, we have our community meditation in our virtual community. If you've never visited before, you can access it via the breakthroughshownetwork.com or bypass the whole site and go to the breakthroughshownetwork.club, and it will take you right to the virtual community. We have a lovely meditation space where we all sit on a cushion right by this beautiful little moonlit river. So you should come and join us for that. Teresa's such a great meditation host, and we are going to be rotating through different people leading meditation in 2025 as well. So very excited about that. Come and join us. Thank you, Miss Trista, for being here this morning. Yes.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Jessica Dugas. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for all the incredible support surrounding the film. Visit thefriendshipparadox.com. I want to remind you to make joy a priority in your life today and every day, because you are the joy. And we'll see you on Wednesday. Bye, everybody.